Well, just moments ago, a federal judge in Seattle granted a temporary restraining order blocking public access to 3D printed 3D gun blueprints published by Defense Distributed. This after 8 states and Washington, D.C. filed a lawsuit to block the blueprints amid growing tension over this issue. Today, President Trump joined in the conversation, tweeting, "I'm looking into 3D plastic guns being sold to the public. Already spoke to NRA. Doesn't seem to make much sense." Joining me by phone, Josh Blackman. He is an attorney. He is the attorney, rather, for Defense Distributed. And he is the company, of course, at the center of this debate. Josh, thank you very much for joining.
Hey, Charles, I wish I was here under better circumstances, but about 15 minutes ago, a federal judge in Washington just issued another nationwide injunction barring a settlement we reached with the Trump administration to bring to an end this litigation. And as a result of this court's ruling, files which my client had already posted to the internet will likely have to come down very shortly.
So what you've got these 8 states, Washington, D.C., what are they exactly saying? Their opposition, I mean, we know that people, when they hear about this, the first thing they think about is, hey, anyone can print these out. There's no registration. It increases danger. Chuck Schumer today said it would help terrorists. So we know what the outcry is. Are these legal arguments that they're using right now to stop the company you're representing?
Charles, this is a case of free speech. It's not about guns. What the blue states sought here is a court order that would force us to take down files off the internet. The governor of one state can't censor the speech and commerce of a citizen of another state. It doesn't work like that. The First Amendment stands as a bulwark against censorship, and we are very disappointed with this court's ruling today.
Would you say this is more of a First Amendment issue, rather, or a Second Amendment issue?
Without question, this is more of a First Amendment question. This is an issue of, can you speak on the internet? Can you share information? Or can the government enter what's called a prior restraint and censor you?
Well, even with free speech, isn't it illegal, for instance, to scream fire in a crowded theater or things like that? Aren't there still carve-outs even to free speech?
Well, everyone says that. The shouting fire false in a crowded theater is no longer good law. It was overturned in the 1960s. But the correct case, think of that, is the Pentagon Papers case, where the New York Times attempted to publish the Pentagon Papers, and the federal government went to court saying, stop it. And the U.S. Supreme Court said unanimously the government can't stop you from speaking. That is something they cannot do. When speech is already in the public domain, they can't stop you.
What about the association with potential violence? Is there a potential constitutional issue with regard to the First Amendment and these blueprints or this free speech ultimately leading to harm to the public?
Look, the states still have the power to prohibit plastic guns. The federal government prohibits plastic guns, but they can't do things that violate the First Amendment. They can't block posting the files on the internet. Perhaps the biggest shame of this entire court order is I can give you 5 minutes and you can Google and find these files elsewhere. These blue attorney generals haven't sued anyone else. They've only sued my client. And you can find these files anywhere else.
So what's your next move, Josh?
Well, Charles, we only had the order a few minutes ago, so we're still looking at our next moves and studying our options. But this is not the last, I'm sure you'll see, of Defense Distributed.
Well, you're in the eye of the storm. It's not just these states, it's Congress, it's public opinion, and even President Trump has weighed in. So we'll probably be hearing a lot more about this. I really appreciate it. I know it's a busy, hectic time for you. So thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks, Charles.